What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripes Show. Today's episode, we're talking about episodes 3 and 4 of The Captain. Scott, it's just the Mets. It's just the Mets.
It's just the Mets. Oh my gosh. You know, when in the moment when you hear that from him saying it and like everybody around him is like, I know, when you know the cameras were quote off and the whole set is just laughing about that because I think everybody in that room, a lot of them are fans and they understand like how that comes across. Also, the fact that Derek Jeter is also saying it and saying that that's how they felt, man, that's got to cut deep for a Mets fan. That's just going to piss them off even more. That's why they're so angry, to be honest. They know it, and they were right the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, it's also on the flip side. Jeter's talking about how it's all anyone was talking about in the city, and he was thriving on that energy. So yes, he's saying it kind of, tongue in cheek. It's just the Mets, but it was bigger than other series they had played, and he even admitted that as well.
Right, but the whole point is just the Mets. Can't take them. They also, he said a very similar thing though. I don't think it's about the Mets necessarily. It's more about Jeter's mentality in approaching all of these situations. The guy was cutthroat, and I think we're seeing that even more so. If people didn't realize how cutthroat this guy was on the field with his relationships, with everything that he did, it had to be a certain way because that's just what his mind was. But he said the same thing about the Red Sox. They'll find a way to screw it up. It's the Red Sox. They'll find a way to screw it up.
The thing that came across in these episodes is you do not cross Derek Jeter. He will cut you out of his life. And he even said, like, maybe this is kind of a character flaw in myself, is that I cut people off and maybe I'm too quick to cut people off. But once you do cross me, I have to cut you. I can't let you back in. You can't get back on my good graces. I'll have acquaintances. I'll be cordial to you, but you are not in my inner circle of trust. You will never be back in my inner circle of trust, which I kind of have to imagine some of his guys in his inner circle of trust are always kind of on guard, like, shit, don't say anything stupid.
So we can kind of talk about both of these episodes together as we've kind of recapped. First of all, 2 hours in one night after a Yankees game.
After a walk-off.
It's a lot. I'm not going to lie. It's a lot to get through. I mean, it is must watch. I am glued to this, but I'm going to rewatch them. What I will tell you, what I'm so happy, and I was thinking this during it, man, the music choices are just so freaking good with this thing, just to evoke the emotion of the clips and such. Really, they're very good. The Sinatra in the beginning of 3, when they're, that's life with the clips, which was just perfect. I got chills for that. But I'm so happy that these are here now so that I can walk through. What I was thinking in my head is that when Kemp is old enough, because he's not old enough to really remember or know this stuff right now, but in a few years when he gets to that point where he's just like, 10 years old, where he's like, very impressionable. I'm just glad these are here so that we could rewatch them because it really does captures the 90s. It captures Derek Jeter. It captures just so many things of what I remember as just like bliss as a Yankees fan really well. It does. It captures it all really well and shows why this guy was such an impactful person in my life. And as I'm watching this, I'm realizing how many things and how big of a role model he actually was without me even acknowledging it or realizing it. But just like some of the things that he does and talks about, like I know that I would approach certain things like that, whether I knew it or not, subconsciously, because he was such an important person in my life as a sports figure. It's just crazy when you think about that type of thing, and you think about the impact sports figures have on your life when you're that impressionable and when you see them doing the things that they're doing. It's kind of crazy, and that was definitely it was made clear to me in my own brain watching 3 and 4 here.
This is a conversation we were having before we started recording. So we've got Logan on the recording here too. The three of us were, obviously Scott and I, you and I are closer in age, but we all have different connections to the Derek Jeter era because we all experienced it at different points in our life. 96, you were 16 years old. I was only 8 years old in 96. Logan was negative, 10 years old in 96. What year were you born, Logan? I always forget. And it always It always pisses me off, right? So we all are going to have
2003.
much different connections to Derek Jeter and that era of Yankees baseball because you experienced them at different points in your life. Like at 10 years old, I'm concerned with much different things than what you're concerned with at 18 years old. Okay, just everyone listening,
Very, very true.
think back to when you were 18 to versus what you were 10. All I cared about was baseball when I was 10 years old. I cared a lot about baseball when I was 18 years old, but I cared about some other stuff too when I was 18 years old. So
you cared about baseball in different ways too,
ways.
because at 18, the competitive nature of you as a fan is in high gear at that point.
It's like
as a
or death with
10-year-old,
your friends. It's if your friends
correct.
have bragging rights over you,
that's it. At 10 years old, you're still in that bliss era where you're like, these guys are more than men.
they're almost like fictitious like beings, the superheroes.
Exactly.
Like, it's like, yeah, I watch them on SportsCenter. Like I see these guys hitting home runs on highlights, but they're like, it's so far removed that it's just like, it's like watching a superhero movie.
Correct. And then at 18 plus, when you're in your 18 to I don't know, 24, 25, you're so emotionally charged and you have these, much more competitive emotions. You're right. Because a lot of times you have friends that are either on, fans also, and you feed off that energy plus alcohol. And you also feed off of the people that that are not fans. Yeah. I mean, you can't ignore the mix of alcohol with the emotions in sports. It definitely ramps things up. No doubt about it. So
the thing that I really loved about these two episodes is it focused on the different rivalries and personal one-on-one relationships that Jeter had with key people. Jeter Clemens, Jeter A-Rod, Jeter Nomar, Jeter George Steinbrenner. Like that's really was the focus of these two episodes. And over the course of, I guess, 1999 when the Yankees acquired Roger Clemens, this covers through 2004 when the Yankees acquire Alex Rodriguez. That 5-6 year span of Jeter's career and Jeter's life, and how these relationships were shaping who he was as a person and who he was as a baseball player. Super interesting stuff.
Really interesting stuff. You're right, and I think understanding those relationships really does tell you the story of gives you just like the background of why things are on the field as well. It helps with the context of different situations. And also just the way that they're approached. I mean, like that's the episode 4, man. The first half of episode 4, up until 2004, before the Alex Rodriguez, it goes into that. That was tough to watch. I'm not going to be honest. I'm not going to lie. It was
losing in 01. Yeah.
You have 01, then you have the emotions of the Red Sox. Like there's an emotional roller coaster in episode 4 that takes me back to the way I felt in all of those moments, which are two of the most emotional moments of my life. When I think back of like, being a sports fan, but also 2001, way more than being a sports fan. So there's a hell of a lot of emotion.
I'm bracing myself
going back to those.
I'm bracing myself for the beginning of episode 5. Because we all know where it's going to start, and it's
for sure
not going to be an enjoyable 15 minutes.
No, and you're just it does take you through that roller coaster, but it's it's part of the story. It's part of the story, and part of why when they're talking about 2001 and just hearing how Jeter took that, not surprising at all. I will say one thing on the field that still pisses me off to this day is Craig Counsell getting hit by that ball. My God, was he over the plate? My God, was he over the plate on that hit by pitch? Yeah. And if that was called, how things might be different. But
what's also a play from that I constantly forget about is Brocious not throwing to first. He would have had the double play easy.
Yeah,
on that bunt, and that's just. I mean, they were playing not. The thing about the Yankees in that 9th inning, they were playing not to lose instead of to win, which is not how they played for the entire 90s run, which is why they won so many championships.
Yeah, it's exactly it. There was a killer mentality, and they were looking for things. We had discussed before about how you can the manufacturer of that chip or just look for things to fuel you. Didn't really have to look very far. It was just people wouldn't shut their mouth. And you'd think that they would learn to shut their mouth going up against a team like this, or not to awaken a team that's, maybe struggling. And also, they never did. And the papers were always looking for it. They're always looking for it. And in today's world, like, those things get magnified, but it also sometimes can get caught into the noise. Whereas, Benny Agbayani in 2000, the what he says, or Eric Chavez, what he says, that's put on the big screen. Like
Eric Chavez, I didn't know that. I didn't know about that.
I don't remember that either. But it's so magnetized in that moment because there's no other noise. That's it. That's what everybody's talking about. And you have your own, you hear certain things about what people responded to, how they responded to it. And now you have what's in your own brain and nothing else. And it's just magnified. And it fuels. It really does.
I think, I don't know, maybe the documentary will get into this and we'll see it, but I bet what we're going to see a difference between the championship era and then the next era, which was really, really good teams filled with superstars and statistics, but could not close the deal, is that they didn't have that camaraderie and they didn't have that mentality of us against the other guy. It was more individualistic. And I think it was Buster Olney who said it was like an island of misfit toys starting in 2002 after the 01 dynasty ended. I find it hilarious and ridiculous that George Steinbrenner, if this really happened, that George Steinbrenner told Brian Cashman after the 2001 loss, now we do it our way, after just winning 4 out of 6 World Series. Like, oh, 1 loss and now we have to change things after this just worked for 6 straight years. Like, I almost feel this is a narrative that Brian Cashman is happy to push, that the signing of major free agents and constantly trying to chase the dragon was George's fault, not my fault. Like, come on, Cashman, you're responsible as well. So I feel like this is a narrative that Cashman is more than happy to let people think that it was George Steinbrenner who did all of the bad acquisitions and it was me who did all the good acquisitions. I don't know why I'm on a Brian Cashman rant. I just like that little moment kind of threw me.
I think it's funny how you're saying this too, because I did not think that even in the slightest. I was just like, in my head, I'm like, yes, of course. If George saw one little weakness, one little gap in winning, because that's what they knew, then he was going to make it seem like everything was wrong, and he was going to go and do it. But that's just the type of guy he is. Sure. He always wanted control. And in fact, he couldn't have the control during that run because everything was going too well. So it was an opportunity for him to go do the thing that he knows how to do best, spend money and like be loud and take control and do those things. So it was almost like a piece of him was like, okay, now that this little party is over of the way you guys did it, it's my chance to shine, and we see what happens.
Well, so what are we talking about? Jason Giambi? That was happening no matter what.
Well, no, yeah, exactly. And I mean, Roger Clemens was definitely George Steinbrenner also. Don't mix that up.
That was after the 98 season, after they had the greatest team ever.
Correct. So he had already started doing this. That's just a cocky moment for him saying that. And he was going to, act like it's him. That's just George Steinbrenner, like retelling everybody that he's in charge and that nobody else is in charge.
Can we take a moment to just talk about the big swinging dick that is Roger Clemens?
Yes.
And just
please.
The cockiness. My God.
Even today, I love it.
Emotes through the screen, and I cannot get enough of it. when he said, it was, I wrote down the exact quote.
This is what I was talking about the other night when on Sunday night, few weeks back or a month back, whenever it was, when he was this is what I couldn't turn away because he was giving this off still.
So they're talking about how Pedro is constantly throwing at the Yankees in the 03 championship series. Clemens goes, someone's going to eat one before it's over.
Yeah.
That's what you need on the other side of the field. Mm-hmm. That is what you need. That is what the team did not have after 2003. I know they didn't win the championship in 2003, but who the fuck cares about that Marlins series? Honestly, like the Yankees, as we saw, didn't even care about that Marlins series, which kind of sucks that they didn't. Like Jeter's like, yeah, we came out flat. That's on us. But it was so true. How do you the Game 7 2003 championship series, for all intents and purposes, was the championship of baseball that year.
That's the one that gets remembered, but still, if the Yankees had won the World Series that year also, it just would have magnified even more what happened.
It would have.
The Yankees were it's just also a reminder of how goddamn close the Yankees were to winning, 6-7 championships in that era. Like they were so close to.
I mean, they weren't necessarily close in the 2003 World Series. They lost in 6 games. They got dominated. But they were obviously super close in 2001.
They were in 6 games of the World Series.
No, I know, but yeah, I get your point. Yes, the Clemens thing though, man, I just loved everything he said in this episode. And Jeter was like, yeah, when we acquired him, I didn't like him because he was always throwing at us. He was always instigating. He was always trying to fight us. And then I realized what a competitive player he is and why it's good to have that on your team. And you accept him. So it's like we see, okay, these relationships. Jeter, Clemens was on the outside, but then he got on the inside because he was a good teammate, and Jeter could respect that. Then we see other guys. A-Rod, he was on the inside because there was a lot of similarities. We both came up around the same time, shortstop, superstars. He was on the inside. You cross me, you're no longer on the inside.
So obviously he respected everything between the lines more than anything. If you were out there, and he said this, if you were out there and you were competing and winning was the only thing that mattered to you, we had no problems. He talked about it with his issues with Chad Curtis. After Chad Curtis,
such a freaking tool.
Isn't he just like a super bad guy now too?
Is he?
There's a few. I think so. I think
you're thinking of John Wetland.
No, he's a bad guy also, but I'm pretty sure Chad Curtis is too.
Is Chad Curtis a bad guy? Logan, do a quick.
Yeah, tell me if I'm not. If I'm slandering Chad Curtis for no reason.
I thought he's just a super religious guy, which is fine if you're super religious. But
I have no problem with people that are religious.
He tried to police the clubhouse based on that. It's like you can't play hip hop music. Yeah.
Can I read the first article that pops up? Just the title. Chad Curtis out of prison after being convicted of sexually assaulting teens.
Thought he was a bad guy. Yeah. Okay. There that is. Okay. Moving forward, you had to be a competitor between the lines first and foremost, more than anything, and it didn't matter if he was your friend off the field. Okay. That said, Alex Rodriguez and Derek Jeter didn't choose to be friends necessarily. They were kind of put in the position and then became chummy because of the situation they were in and the friendship that ensued because of that, because they were spending time close. Alex didn't know how to handle it. Everybody says it's so very true. One person was about winning in the team and one person was about themselves. That is like the easiest way to say it, because when you look at that, you find all of the selfishness, the insecurities, and all of these things. And to Alex Rodriguez's credit, and part of the eroticence, as you had called it during this, Alex Rodriguez was very outspoken about his missteps and why he believes he was in that. And as much as I don't like Alex Rodriguez in general, I respect and appreciate him as he's getting older in life, and he's become a lot more honest with why he thinks things were, why things are. And those are facts. Like, yes, there's always emotional baggage as a child, and how you handle it and how it can shape you in different ways is a real thing. And I do think that was part of his situation. But after the comments were made, all of these things, and Derek Jeter just basically wrote him off in a sense where I'm going to keep you, I'll keep you close, but I'm going to keep you an arm's length away. The conversation when they had at the end of episode 4 during the rain delay, and Alex Rodriguez is just sitting there trying to get his respect back, trying to get saying, I sacrificed, and I will honor what I said to come over here. I promise you. And Jeter's like, at that point, you got to respect him for that. But at the same time, not going to bring you back in. Not going to bring you back in. Saying it out loud, got to respect him for that. Still not going to come back in.
Do you think Jeter not letting now listen, maybe you're not going to let him back into the sense of like, oh, he's over for dinner with Gerald Williams back in, but you can let him back in to an extent where it is not going to affect the clubhouse and the on-field play.
Of course.
Do you think Jeter, but I don't know that Jeter did that, or maybe it took too long for him to do that. And like that 04 team, we know they collapsed. And I think we all blame A-Rod as the reason why they collapsed. The Yankees acquired A-Rod. He was a poison to the clubhouse. The mentality changed. he was sort of the poster boy for the collapse. What if Jeter played a part in that for his not being able to let that little beef go?
I don't know. Maybe there was something there at a moment, but I really think it goes down to that all of the emotions in the situation that Alex Rodriguez, again, he's trying. I truly believe it's almost like you're trying to get the respect of your father back. That was the thing. Like, he understood at that point there was nothing he could do on the field with the teams that he was on besides go to this Yankees, take the third base and try to earn the respect back. Like, I feel like he wanted it so badly that it overtook him. And I don't think he's not emotionally built like Derek Jeter, and that's a problem.
So, no, that's for certain, and he admitted it in the episode. He talked about how he had insecurities and what did he say? Insecurities, and what was the other? Self-confidence issues? Self-esteem issues.
Self-esteem issues. There's no doubt he did.
Yeah.
No doubt he did.
So
he was very impressionable by people around him that were not good, too. That's the other thing. Jeter had a tight circle. Alex Rodriguez had a tight circle of the wrong people.
The A-Rod stuff was the most interesting out of two very interesting episodes. The boss calling Jeter to make sure the trade was okay. Jeter being honest that he wasn't going to say if there was a problem anyway. First of all, he said, I didn't have a problem, but if I did, I wasn't going to say anything. I think he did have a problem. I think he was lying about that.
I think so too.
He clearly had a problem. Now, maybe wouldn't have changed the acquisition. That would have still happened. But maybe they could have gotten out in front of it before the season even started and it didn't start to like linger through the clubhouse, right? But it's April 20th and they're having a conversation in the rain delay in Chicago. That was super interesting to me to hear about that. But I thought what was going to happen when Jeter said, I don't understand why at the prime of your career you're willing to move shortstop, go to third base, and come over here. What's your game? What's your angle here? What's your motive? I thought A-Rod was going to say, I came here to win. And what he said was, I came here to play third base. So really, A-Rod didn't have evil motives, but he still didn't have the right motive in wanting to come to the Yankees. He should have just wanted to come to the Yankees to win because that gave him the best chance to win. But what he actually wanted was more spotlight. And he was willing to move off of shortstop and go to third base and play next to Derek Jeter if it would give him more spotlight. And so maybe if he had truly just wanted to come there to win and Jeter could recognize that, maybe they could have squashed some beef and just been good teammates because they're both trying to do the same thing, which is win a ring. And I think eventually in A-Rod's career, he figured that out, but it was 5 years too late.
He thought that coming over to New York and sacrificing shortstop to go to third base was going to be the breaking of the bread between the two of them. He felt, I think, internally that I'm doing this selfless act. Again, this, which becomes more of actual selfish motives. I'm doing this selfless act by going to third base, and Jeter's going to respect me for that. And you're right. He went there. He did that, which, okay, great. Like, part of that, you're on the right track. But if you're there to do that, to make the team better, and to give the team the best opportunity to win, to have these two great players on the field at the exact same time, if he said that, if he, made sure that was the clear motive and this was just part of it, I agree with you. I think it would have been different, but it wasn't. The selflessness that he felt actually became a selfish motive, I think, in the eyes of Derek Jeter a little bit. And it rubbed him the wrong way a bit. Like, I don't get it. Like, what are you doing? I'm a winner. I'm a competitor. Why would you want to try to come here and get on my coattails a little bit? You're not coming in for the right thing. And there was something about it and all the previous history of the comments and things like that. Just had Jeter, goes back to what he said in the first episode. He's looking around. He's looking around at the peripherals. Who's around him? What's the angle? Why are you here? What's the angle? He even said it. Like, what's the angle? What is the real reason you're here? Just tell me what the real reason is you're here. Because I don't believe what you're saying. And I still don't think he believes it necessarily, the actual conviction in why he came over.
Well, I don't think A-Rod even knew. I think A-Rod was lying to himself right? A-Rod thought he was there to just play third base and be a Yankee, but he really wasn't. He was there because he was trying to get back in the spot. He was almost a Red Sox, right? That would have been, I think, awesome. They're right. That would have been awesome. If he went to the Red Sox, they could go head-to-head as shortstops on Yankees-Red Sox. Now, maybe the Red Sox still beat the Yankees in 2004. I don't know. But I do know it probably would have been the best thing for those two individuals.
It would have been a damn good thing for the rivalry, too. I actually believe, and this is part of why I have such a conflict in how I feel about Alex Rodriguez at sometimes. I actually do believe that in the moment, he truly thinks that he's doing things the correct way. And it's so crazy to think that someone actually believes that it's hard for me to wrap my head around it. But
that's why he keeps making mistakes. That's why he keeps making the same mistakes over and over again. Because he believes them. He
believes that he's doing the right thing.
That he's doing the right thing, but he doesn't have the right thing actually at heart. He has the selfish thing at heart. He thought, I'm going to say I'm moving to third base to play third base and help the team. That's the right thing, but that's not truly why he was moving to the Yankees to play third base.
And I don't even know if the just the spotlight was it. I also think that it's part of being on a championship team with Derek Jeter. That he would have.
Yes, he wanted to share the spotlight.
Not even the spotlight, but he would have also. He almost like assumed the championship would happen because Jeter was there and he was the winner. And now you're adding the better player. So we're gonna share in the success and we're gonna be best friends again. Seriously, a lot of this is longing for that emotional connection again.
He thought they were going to be the Step Brothers. Yeah. What's up, Logan? I know you have some thoughts on this.
So not living through it, I just know A-Rod during the time with Jeter as like this arrogant, like, just kind of, wanted to, the way Jeter kind of has implied him over the years before this of like, he was just kind of like there for himself, like very selfish. I never realized that there were events, and obviously nobody really knew about this event in Chicago. I never knew that there were events that A-Rod like tried to be like, he didn't say win, but he tried to be like really like forthcoming and was like, no, like I respect you. Like I didn't realize, like, was that a theme over the years that he was trying to get on Jeter's good side?
It didn't matter.
Couldn't?
Apparently it was
but it didn't matter. That's the thing. Like
but they tried to, even before he came to the Yankees, right? Because the relationship broke after the Esquire interview in December of 2000 after A-Rod signed the massive contract. And the media played a part in it, right? Like that Esquire writer was portrayed to be an absolute a-hole. But at the same time, his statement that, hey, if these comments broke up this friendship, then it wasn't a real friendship to begin with.
I didn't think he came off as an asshole. I thought he came off as a professional doing his job, and it was what it was.
Well, I mean, it kind of made him to portray to be an asshole. Where he's like, I'm gonna.
Did it matter? No,
I don't care about these. He's like, basically, I didn't care about breaking up a friendship. I was trying to get the story. Fine,
if any writer tells you that they're worried about breaking up a personal relationship, about something that they're writing about, that comments were said, they're lying to you. That's not their job.
As long as it's the truth.
You don't convolute the truth, but you're reporting what the truth is, then that is literally their job.
But A-Rod, before he came to the Yankees, sorry, Logan, before he came to the Yankees, tried to squash the beef with Jeter, right? This like fax that he was trying to send. He wanted to he flew up to visit Jeter and apologize for his comments. And Jeter's like, yeah, I believed he was sincere, but it didn't matter at that point.
Right. We learned, obviously, like, we know, like, Jeter's like a tough cookie. Like, he's like tough to please. And like, that was his personality and whatever. But like, I never perceived A-Rod in their relationship as ever really like he, like, publicly, like, I kind of like figured like, all right, like he tried to make it work and he tried to like, show Jeter like, like, I respect you, but like I never really realized that he ever did anything like that might have actually been more sincere than Jeter gave him credit for, if that makes sense. I mean, obviously,
I see what you're saying. The whole point is it didn't matter. It didn't mamatter. It didn't matter, and it was all like, the things that were done were just him. It was too late. It was too late. Things were said, and like, let's just move forward. And Alex Rodriguez could never move forward because he always desired the respect from Derek Jeter, and that was so very clear. And Jeter just, not that he didn't respect him anymore, it was just he's just like emotionally cut off. Like, okay, I'm just going to go forward, do my thing, you're going to do your thing. And it just doesn't matter anymore. And that could
A-Rod
never
couldn't
be
accept
accepted, right?
A-Rod.
I mean,
could
I
not
don't think
accept
that he.
Yeah.
I don't think that he ever really.
I
Accepted
still don't
it.
think
Like,
he
do you
accepts it.
remember a
I still
couple
think he
years ago,
longs
was
for it.
on the field in Miami in full Yankee gear, trying to teach Miguel Andujar how to play third base in Miami. Like, comes out of the woodworks.
Oh, A-Rod.
And
A-Rod. Yeah.
yeah, and he's on the field in Miami in full Yankee in a full Yankee uniform, and it's like, what do you do? Like,
Part of
There's a
the
motive
Alex
there.
Rodriguez
You know what I mean?
Yankees thing always rubbed me the wrong way, because even still, like, lingering with the organization, because I still feel like he wants to be Derek Jeter, and I think actually that pisses off Jeter. Looking at that now too, he's like, "What are you doing in my house? Like, just stop it! Get out of my house."
But also, Jeter was CEO and part owner of the Miami Marlins, which is where A-Rod grew up, right? You don't think he had any extra motives there? Like, oh, this is an opportunity, and it just happens to be in A-Rod's backyard.
I mean,
Okay,
maybe it's just like a little bit more of that cutthroat, but I just don't think that it matters that much. I think that statement would be giving Alex Rodriguez too much credit in Jeter's head, to be honest.
Yeah, I think Jeter wanted the relationship to just be, we are teammates. We're both trying to play the best baseball we can.
Yeah.
That's it. And A-Rod was still trying
Love
to
me,
get back
like me,
close
love
with
me,
Jeter.
Derek.
And it was never going to happen. And that had to have permeated through the clubhouse.
I'm sure
had
it
to
is.
have permeated. There's no way you cannot ignore that. Like, not just because of the backstory, but just like you're with these two people 24/7 essentially. You know when someone's trying to like a little puppy dog, look, pet me, and you're just getting shooed
just
away.
like, relax, go lay down. When it's your turn, I'll tell you when it's your turn. But and at the same time, it's just Alex Rodriguez's demeanor, period. Just the way that he plays the game, the way that he carries himself, the way that he talks, like everything about him is just not the Yankee way. It's just not. It's I want to be the Yankee way, but everybody knows it's not the Yankee way, and it's just like this mirage.
You said the Yankee way.
I'm referring to like the clubhouse as it was in the 90s into the early 2000s. It was that Yankee way. I'm not trying to make this like a euphoric bigger thing. That Yankee way. He could never do that. He was not that type of player, because all of those players, including the superstars, had to be selfless when they walked in the door. It was a requirement. And he is not that guy. Even though he thought he was that guy and said he was that guy, he's not that guy. When you talk to him on a daily basis, you play with him, they knew it.
A loss did not affect Alex Rodriguez the same way it affected Derek Jeter. Jeter said a big reason why that group was able to win 4 championships is because we all took losses personally, and it bothered us, and we kept trying to get better. Whereas once 2001, the loss happened, and O'Neill already knew he was retiring. Brocious knew he was retiring. Tino was a free agent. He wasn't getting re-signed. So much of the core veteran leadership on that team was leaving. The mentality changed. Jeter was still pissed off. He's in the prime of his career. He still wants to win every year. But other guys were at peace with the fact that they had just went on this dynastic run. And yeah, okay, maybe the dynasty's over, but that's okay. Look what we accomplished. They said that.
Is dynastic
right?
a word, or did you just make that up? That's a good one if it is.
I don't know. But I remember reading Buster Olney's book, The Last Night of the Yankees Dynasty. And he had a big part in there about how Mariano was at peace with the loss and actually came to grips with it and was okay with it. There was this story about how it potentially saved someone's life because there was a player who had 2 flights booked. Logan, please Google this story quick. There was a player on the Yankees who had 2 flights booked, one for if they had lost and one for if they had won, because he was going to stay on the parade. And then the flight that he would have been on crashed or something like that. So like Mariano, who's a super religious guy, was like, oh, this was fate. This was meant to be. I saved a life sort of thing. But Buster talked about in that book how there were players on that team who were more okay with the loss. And Jeter's sitting there, no, we shouldn't be okay with the loss, whether we just won 4 or not.
I think the emotions of the 2001 loss as well, as a competitor, sank differently. So Derek Jeter, the competitor, was just like, that's, this is not correct. This is not the way it's supposed to happen. I think a lot of other guys, especially the veteran guys, when you're, as we know, when you're in different places in your life, when you're in a different phases, you think differently about situations. That whole run from September 11th, or whenever they got back on the field, September 18th, on through the World Series, we heard it and saw it in the B-roll clips talking to the fans. It was healing. The entire run up into the World Series was insanely important to get to that point. Did they finish the World Series the way that it was supposed to go down? No, it didn't. But I think a lot of those guys, when they took a step back, they realized that getting to the point, doing the things that they did to get to that moment, to the Game 7, they brought the fans all the way through the last moment of baseball, and they had them thinking about different things that would distract them. I think when they look back on that and they realize what their role was in that situation in life, that losing the baseball game was an easier pill to swallow because of the good and joy that they brought people in a really tough time. And people were very outspoken about that exact thing, because the entire playoffs were part of the healing. If they had won the World Series, yes, it would have been the culmination of that. It wouldn't have, after the World Series was over, it wouldn't have changed what was happening in real life. But at the same time, the run did help people heal, I think. And I think that sank differently with different people, different players.
Yeah, I forget who it was quoted. I think it was Tino, or maybe it was Bernie, who said we weren't tired physically. We weren't even tired mentally. We were tired emotionally. And that was obviously an emotional month of baseball. And they were emotionally exhausted and were. And
I don't think that affected what happened on the field, because they were, a pitch away from winning the World Series.
No, I mean, they were all the Diamondbacks.
Yeah. So, and they came back emotionally. Loaded. They came back.
The Yankees had. Go look at the statistics of that World Series. The Yankees got dominated in runs scored, batting average, ERA, everything. They got dominated. The Yankees, when they lost, got blown out, and when they won, somehow scraped across a win on some freaking miracle. Byung Kim threw 73 pitches and then came back the next night. Holy shit, I didn't know it was 73 pitches, but they just found ways to win 3 games and almost found a way to win a 4th game.
Yep.
All right, so let's I don't know, what other things there was a lot of fun nuggets. I guess we'll just fire through them quick.
Hold on, one liner after 2003.
Oh yeah, it was Enrique Wilson who was on that flight potentially. That
it was a player. I didn't realize that.
One liner.
Teammate
of Mariano's, Enrique Wilson, obviously owned.
So I think one of the lines that stuck out to me the absolute most was after the Yankees beat the Red Sox in 2003, and they were interviewing the writers and how the front office took the win, and Steinbrenner was like yelling at the bus, but Levine says, "Take that, you 1918 pieces of shit."
Yes,
that's great. I love that quote. That made me feel like Randy Levine was a human being a bit, and I like it.
No. Do you know why? Because Randy Levine thinks he actually was like beating the Red Sox.
I don't care.
Absolute fuck up, Randy Levine.
I
hate you.
I love the cockiness of the quote and how badly they wanted to keep them down.
If it was anybody else, a ball boy on the Yankees, I could get behind it. But I cannot get behind pudgy face.
It's hilarious
Randy Levine saying that.
Hearing that come from his mouth. But yeah, there's some good quotes.
I would have slapped him across the face. I loved Cone just completely trolling on the Mets for having the Baja Men out on the field. That was hilarious. Like, what are you doing? The Baja Men out there singing? It's like, we were gonna win this. The Clemens Piazza dynamic was super interesting. That's just a absolutely fascinating matchup, and you really do see how Clemens pitched how he got himself, to where he was. It's just like the competitive nature, like would always knock a guy off. The superstar on the other team was getting knocked off the plate. If you were beating me, you were getting one. You were going to eat one. It's just like that does not exist in today's game anymore. Like we talked about in the last episode how Max Scherzer is like a dog out there, but even that, like he doesn't even do that because you can't really, no one does that in today's game anymore. But holy shit, was Roger Clemens just an animal.
He still has the same mentality, which is why, you see the just the raw stubbornness of the man, because he's just not going to come back from the things that he says. He's just not. He's just very much entrenched in one mindset and one mindset only. So, whether you like it or you don't, it is what it is, and it ain't changing. You're not going to change that man in any way. Yeah,
I like it.
As a competitor,
like
when you're watching what he did, similar, not comparing the two even to the stretch of the imagination, but when you see the guy, and this is what supports what Jeter said, you hate him, but then you love him. It's like Josh Donaldson. We talked about this, having it as the antagonizer on the other team, and now he's on your team. It's just a different mindset. You want that guy in your team. You hate him when you're facing him, though.
Yeah, the George Steinbrenner Jeter stuff was interesting too. How George, of course, liked to attack the star player, right? He did it as soon as he started owning the team. He would attack the star player, call him out in the media when they lost. He called Jeter out for not committing as much as he did when the Yankees were winning. And then they actually ended up filming that commercial when Jeter was hurt in 2003. And then George named him captain, which the documentary portrayed to be as sort of like a final pairing of the relationship, that George said it almost felt like he needed to do this to make sure that him and Jeter were good. I thought all that was interesting.
Yeah, and the timing of it is super interesting because of, the way that he really led the team to welcome Hideki Matsui into, and ironically it was because it was done so in the public eye and out in the town, and that was exactly what Steinbrenner was riding him for. So I thought that whole thing was an interesting dynamic, and what really spurred that on. He understood that it was actually leadership in what he was doing to bring this guy out and with the team and to gel them together. Captain.
And I thought Posada also came off as an absolute beast in this. He's like, I wanted Kareem Garcia to charge the mound. Like I wanted
he was
to go
looking for Pedro.
Fight.
I love hearing about it. It's to this day, it pisses me off so very badly watching Zimmer hit the ground after Pedro. I hated Pedro more than I hated anybody. I think after that, I don't think I hated anybody more than I hated Pedro when I saw that occur. What a scumbag! What a scumbag after that.
And then I also threw up in my mouth a little bit when Jeter was doing the interview. I think it was on ESPN, and they were like, you're losing Andy Pettitte, you're losing David Wells, you're losing Roger Clemens, but you're adding A-Rod, Kenny Lofton, Kevin Brown, and Gary Sheffield. I was like,
yeah. Just, again, that's more of like the mentality, pay for some guys that have big names, have success, but you're losing the core attributes of a winning team and why everything was so successful in the Derek Jeter era. That was, you look at that whole thing too. It's just like Derek Jeter didn't need all of the talent on the field. He just needed the will and enough talent. And when you put it together, how powerful that is. And it just, to me, that reinvigorates the feeling that I have of like the chemistry of a team, the makeup of a team, the balance of a team, and how important that is. And you just can't throw dollars and big stars at something and expect to win. It just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. So
I know we talked most of this episode about A-Rod and Jeter, but the comments that he actually said to piss Jeter off, where he was saying, you don't go into New York worried about Derek Jeter beating you. You worry about Bernie Williams and Paul O'Neill. Derek Jeter's hitting second. He's got great talent around him. He doesn't have to lead. All of those comments. A-Rod standing by them to this day.
He's so out of touch, man. It just proves that he's still out of touch, because the fact that he says he feels the same way again, he's still misconstruing in the way that the comments were received. He's not even perceiving them today as they were perceived and as they should be perceived in writing. I mean, he was slighting Derek Jeter. He wasn't making it sound like the team was a juggernaut and he was just part of that team and that they had to attack and think about everybody. He was saying you didn't have to think about Derek Jeter because of the other guys. That's what he said. He said that, and he still doesn't get that. It's so crazy to me that this man still can't understand the things that came out of his mouth, even to this day.
Yeah, I don't know how, because he said that after the 2000 World Series, right? After Jeter had just won the World Series MVP, and the Mets had to have thought about him because he broke their backs with leading off Game 4 with a home run. Like, it's just like, how do you say that after that? Fine, you say that before that happened, fine, but you say that after it happened, just
selfish motivations.
Anything else you want to touch on?
Selfish motivations again, and whether they are, conscious or subconscious, they were always there. They're always there. They are always there. To this day, they're still there, and that's what rubs me the wrong way. There's just little things in his demeanor and his mannerisms that still come off in the same way, and it just irks me. It still irks me.
You think Jeter's belly button is
I
better?
do. That's a great story. Oh yeah, that's what that one when they caught him saying that one's probably not going to make the last cut. So that one made the cut. That's an embarrassing story a bit, like enough where he could probably let it go. But for him,
it's not really.
So I'm very, very curious as to what stories were told that did not make it. If that one made it and he thought it didn't, what didn't make it?
Yeah. He had final.
I guarantee
cut,
that was
had
part of the
final
deal.
Approval.
But I'm sure that there were some.
Yeah. So it's like this is a quote unquote embarrassing story. It's not embarrassing. I mean, the worst. It's like that sucks for Jeter. Your clothes are all wet on New Year's Eve. It's like, well, now my night's ruined. But like that's not an embarrassing.
But to
story.
him, like he was guarded, and that's the beauty of it. So that's why
I guess
I'm really wondering what was actually cut, because that they're way worse.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for this. Really loved these 2 episodes. So there's 2 more next Friday and then 1 more on August 11th, which is the finale. Hope you guys are enjoying watching it along with us, and we'll talk to you guys on Monday after the Royal Series.